Please tell us your name.
My name is Tsering Choephel.
His Holiness the Dalai Lama asked us to record your experiences so that we can share your memories with many generations of Tibetans, the Chinese, and the rest of the world. Your memories will help us to document the true history, culture, and beliefs of the Tibetan people. Do you give your permission for the Tibet Oral History Project to use this interview?
Absolutely.
Thank you for offering to share your story with us. During this interview, if you wish to take a break or stop at any time, please let me know.
Okay.
If you do not wish to answer a question or talk about something, let me know.
Okay.
If this interview was shown in Tibet or China, would this be a problem for you?
No.
We are honored to record your story and appreciate your participation in this project.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, Tsering La, may I call you that?
No, things are fine.
Tsering La is better. Tsering La, please tell us where you were born and what year.
I was born in Tibet,
Oh, yeah.
and I do not remember exactly what month date, but my parents tells me that I was born in 1948.
1948.
Yeah. So where the Westerners versus the Tibetan do is a little bit different. So if you are born here in the United States, for example, day you born on, you count your ages. But in our country, if you're born in the middle of the month, but you are 1 year older. So if let's say if I'm a 61 year today, but in our Tibetan count, it'll be 62.
It'll be 62. If you're born in the middle of the month.
Middle one or whenever. So it's go by the nuclear calendar.
By the
so,
nuclear calendar.
Yes.
So that makes you 62 in the
If
Tibetan
it's a 60,
calendar.
yeah, 62. Right now I'm a 65, but I would be 66.
You'll be, I see,
Yeah.
65, thank you.
Yeah.
But you will be 66. So
That's the example of it.
that's a good example.
Okay.
What is the, where in Tibet was your
Well,
family
it's
home?
in a called Dhingri, Tibet, and my own town was called Shingri.
Shingri.
Yeah.
What province of Tibet was that?
I'm not sure.
Like Kham?
No,
No.
it's in the
Uzang?
up. Uzang, yes,
Uzang,
yes.
Uzang,
Oh,
okay.
Uzang, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So in Utsang. Well, how many people were in your family when you were a little boy?
Wow.
Do you remember?
Are you including your siblings?
Just
and your,
siblings, just siblings. And
Well, my mother had 10 boys.
she did 10
10
boys.
boys. And then I had, of course, my parents, and then my father's side, they have a couple of brothers. So that gives the 12, 13. Then you got aunts and uncles and so many. So, I mean, if you keep counting, there's many, but
Many.
I don't have any numbers on the top of my head right now.
I understand that. So what kind of work did your family do when you were?
They are mixed. They are half nomad,
Oh,
half, what call this? Shingba, yes.
what-
Farmers.
Farmers.
Yes.
Half nomad and
Yeah.
some half farmers.
Farmers, yes.
Do you have any memories of Tibet?
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
What are they? Tell us about them.
Well, when I was young, my parents putting go after the yaks, after the sheep, and even I think I had plow some fields, Shingata was So
Say that out.
Worked in the fields.
yeah, water fields, even though I was like, I don't really exactly remember, but I think it's almost somewhere in 8, 9 years
8,
old.
9. What, like how many yaks roughly would you have to take care of?
Well, I don't have to take care of, but I need to go look after them, saying that they are on the right spot. Yaks are going separate all over the field, so try to stay within it, together kind of thing. If I remember correctly, about 15 of them as far as the yak goes. And then we have sheep, many sheep, probably about 1,200 sheep.
Wow.
And they have a guy who runs the, after the guy who is looking after the sheep, particularly the guy, then go there help them out, so see same kind of thing. So.
Because you were a boy,
I'm
so
a boy,
you're just a boy.
Yeah.
But what are the memories of how the land looked when you were a boy? Can you tell us?
Well, land is a pretty plain. A lot of hills around. There's not much trees, and the
Bungs in the meadows.
meadow, I guess and see those things, and lots of high mountains, around it. And then also there's at the meadow there's a lot of good grasses for hay, for the animals. So.
Yes, very fertile.
Yeah, very fertile.
It was very fertile there.
Yeah.
This is in Utsang.
Yeah.
And
We are very close to Mount Everest.
really?
Yes, and if my memory correct, I think if we walk from my place to Mount Everest base, probably took about 2 days. I think somewhere there. Then you see the base of the Mount Everest from the Tibet side. So.
Do you remember seeing Mount Everest?
Oh
as a
yeah, we
child?
crossed Mount Everest. Yes.
You crossed it, or you
Crossing.
went you went over Mount
Over Mount, yes.
You climbed over Mount Everest?
Not the way up there, not the 29,000, no. Where there's a base, you can cross around there when you escape from Tibet.
Where there was a pass.
Yes, pass,
A
correct.
pass that
Yes.
you were able to escape.
Correct.
What is your memory of what Mount Everest looked like when you were there?
Well,
I mean, could you see it? Did the sky clear frequently?
it was snowing that day. Well, I think how we came to is
No, I meant when you were a little boy.
Yeah.
Could you see Mount Everest from
yes.
where you lived?
Yes. Oh, where I live, there I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
No, I don't. No.
No. Okay,
No.
we'll talk about the other part later.
Yeah.
So what kind of house or home did you live in as a little boy?
Well, they have a houses built by basically mixed with the rocks and the maybe cement. We really don't have a cement, but it's basically mud. Mud and the rocks kind of put together, build it. It's a one level. Probably, I don't remember, maybe say 6, 7 rooms in the house, and then have a huge building to place to have the sheeps and the yaks, separate kind of barn. It's not a really barn, but every time in the afternoon they collect all they put in the barn. Then daytime you have to go out the field to let them release.
Let them release.
Yeah.
Did it have a roof, or was it like just
No.
walls? Just
No,
walls.
just walls.
Like a stockade.
That's correct. Yes.
I see.
Yeah.
How interesting. How many children were in your family?
Me myself.
Yeah.
I have 3 of my own.
No, I'm sorry. I meant your mother and father had you,
Right.
and were there other children?
Yes, I told you 10 boys.
You meant the 10 boys were in your family,
My family.
your siblings.
I'm siblings.
So you had 9
brothers.
brothers,
Correct.
no girls.
No girls.
What was that like for a family to have all boys?
Well, I think it's a really challenge for my mother, obviously, and my dad. But our family is so big, and we have a couple of different places. We have our main house. Then we go out there, called the place to go to look up the sheep, yaks, one place.
Right.
Then we got one house in town. So we are kind of
Spread
a little
out.
bit separated, out. So we really don't know. We don't get together too much, if I remember correctly. So
Where were you in that lineup of 10 boys?
I am the first one, oldest ones passed away. Then I'm if I by birth, I'm the fourth
Fourth one down?
from the top. But since I never seen the oldest one, so I seen it. Then I have two brothers, both older than me. They both passed away. Now I'm the oldest one, basically. And I have two brothers live in Japan. And the one monk in Japan, both of them running right now, one called Potala Palace. They have a center over there.
Really? He is a monk?
He's a monk. He's a geshe.
That is very unusual. I haven't heard of many Tibetans settling in Japan.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
That's correct.
How did that happen, that he wound up in Japan?
It's kind of a long story. He was in, first of all, my brother was, both were in, the younger brother was in Mussoorie in school with me, way back in 60s. Then he became monk. And then after the monk, he good at it, then went to school in Dharamsala, in dialectic. And he got a degree. And then I think if I'm correctly right, that His Holiness office sent them to Japan over there to, I think, translating some scriptures, Tibetan scriptures. And then they lived in Japan for many years, and then they worked in the office of Tibet for a couple of years. Then I think their term is over. Then they start opening their own sorts of saying that center.
Center in Japan.
In Japan.
Which city?
Right in Tokyo.
In Tokyo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
Well, we have so much to hear today.
Right.
We better get back to you. So you're in your growing up, and at that, your two older brothers were, I guess, in your life, but also out doing farm work and herding. And you're the third one down.
Right.
Do you go to school at all?
In Tibet, no.
No school.
No.
So you're mostly out helping the family run
That's
the
correct.
farm and the animals.
That's correct.
What was your mother like?
She's a very small,
Was
skinny as Yangjin, maybe skinnier.
A skinny,
Very
petite woman, very petite,
very
and
pretty, very kind.
very kind.
Yeah, you know.
Was it a happiness or a joy to have that many sons?
That I don't know. You know, I mean, obviously she has so many challenges in taking care of. But I myself feel that I love my both parents. But I think mothers are more important in your life. I don't care how your fathers are kind and loving, whatever it is. Mothers are very important in our life.
Yes.
And I had an argument with my father. And I told her, I told him that mothers are more kind, and you came from your mother, I came from my mother. I love you, Dad, but I love my mother more. And he was kind of, why and all that. I kind of explained to him, first of all, the mother have to carry in her tummy for 9 months. After you giving her birth, she have to take a pain. After taking pain, then you have to take care of the baby, and you as a dad probably never did take care of me, who changed the diaper, who put it on the, things like that. It's kind of culture is a little bit different here in the United States. I see that both Bala and Amma, when parents are taking care of, taking turning, and changing diaper and all that. In our country, basically most of them, mother one who does it. Then mother have to carry, I seen her carry the, one of them on her back, one of here, but still have to do the housework, cookings, and all that stuff. I really appreciate it and what my mother went through, and then I feel same way to the other mothers, what they go through, and kind of sympathetic about it. So I mean, don't misunderstand. I love my father, but I kind of that way. So my mother, she went through many difficulties. Yes.
She did. Were you ever around when she was giving birth, because you were the third one down? And
I never seen it.
you never saw that?
Never seen.
Did she give birth at home?
Yes, that's all we have.
That's all you had?
That's all we have.
Were there midwives or
There is some, well, not really help, there's helper.
just helpers?
And if I remember correctly, I think my father has 4 sisters.
Ah,
So they are very helpful to them, to my mother.
ah,
And then there is helper to taking care of fields and taking care of your animals, and that kind of help. And I do remember that my mom is in the bed after the birth,
Yes.
for many
in
days.
bed for
Yes,
many days
many
after
days.
giving birth.
Yes.
And was there, in Tibetan culture, is there more value placed on having a male child than a female child? Or is it,
Well, I think there are half and half, kind of mix. It's kind of unique that my mom had 10 boys.
yeah,
So I really don't know. If I personally, I'd rather have girl. Girls a little bit more easier to deal with, and if you raise correctly and much handling easier, and I think they have a better, I don't know, feel they're more precise, they're more caring. So
yes, yes.
that's my perception.
Like mothers.
My mother's, yes.
So there you were growing up in this beautiful land not far from Mount Everest, and you grazed because it was a very fertile valley.
Yep.
So does anything begin to change in your life? We're talking about now you're, 4, 5, 6, 7? When does your life begin to change? At what age? From outside forces, if anything.
I don't know. I talked to Yangjing. Yangjing asked me a few questions yesterday to fill the home. And I told her about when I was left from Tibet, it was maybe 8, 9. I think I'm a little bit older than that. I'm maybe about 10, 12 years old. And it was a big change. When
What
I
happened?
we can escape from Tibet
But why did you have to escape?
because Chinese invaded our country.
Did you see, but I want to know what happened to your family that made them decide to move? What was going on?
Well, in our country where I live, I never seen any violence or anything. I see some Chinese.
You never saw any bombings? Is it-
No bomb,
No
no
bomb,
guns.
no soldiers?
No, I see soldiers.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah.
When did you first see them?
Boy, that I don't remember exactly. And
You were a little boy?
yeah, pretty little boy. Yeah,
What were they doing?
they were just checking everybody here and there. Going in house to house.
Really?
Right?
What were they checking for?
That I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know.
Do you remember what the feeling was to have them show up?
Well, be honest with you, at that time, I'm small, young. I have not much feeling.
Yeah.
And only my parents tells for me saying, these are the people that are going to take our country. And I don't understand what they mean, take care of it.
Yeah.
And I remember there is a calendar. And calendar was His Holiness is one side, Mo Zedong is on one side, and Panchen Rinpoche was on the one side. I remember that.
So the middle one was what?
I think
Mao
Mo
Zedong.
Zedong.
You did
and-
say Mao
yeah,
Zedong.
Yes.
So it was a calendar
His
with
Ho-
His Holiness
And Mo Zedong.
and Mao Zedong on the same picture, and
same-
then
next to is Panchen
in
Lama.
Panchen Lama.
Yeah, I see that, and the parents points out saying, this is His Holiness, and our leader. He's our reincarnation of the Chinese and all that. And the Panchen Lama, I don't remember. And this is the guy, bad guy, blah, blah, blah. And I'm asking, why the bad guys with our thing?
With our good guys.
Our good guys, Then I really don't remember what they explained to me. I don't remember. And then I remember that the Chinese people gave us a whole bunch of books.
Oh.
I remember there were 3 or 4 books, and I'm trying to read that in my bed at that time.
Yeah. Were they in Chinese?
It's in Chinese,
Can
and
you-
I pretend to reading it, but I really don't know, So that kind of I remember on that one. So then I think right after the 1959, March 1959, my parents start to ready to escape. And we have a yaks, and they took some goods to Nepal. I kind of remember that one, and every time they did was package it and get the yaks in the front of the door in the evening, and next day they are gone. And I remember that, where did my brother go, where would my uncle go, where all the yak go? I'm asking questions. Like, and my parents was very, very reluctant to tell us because we are kids, and somebody asked them when they left, all that kind of. That part I remember.
You knew something was going on.
Exactly. Yes.
The yaks were there with goods, and then they had disappeared.
They're packaging it, in
They're
the night, hiding, they're packaging and they're putting it away and things like that. And all of a sudden, the next day is gone.
And were they later? Did you find out, were they transporting the goods to Nepal to get away?
Later on, they come back, and later on, maybe 3 or 4 months, probably they told us, saying we need to leave pretty soon. Then we're going to go back to Nepal. Yes.
So what happened next then? You saw these goods being
Right.
taken in the middle of the night, or
Right. Then
they were-
then one day that when we left to us, I remember that. Then their parents told us that, saying we're leaving our country. In order to do that, and they made a huge bonfire in the house. So pretend we are living in it, but we left that night with the yaks and everything in the night time.
So they kind of kept the home fires
Bonfire burning, and the
to
smoke coming out.
pretend that you're still there.
Exactly. Yep.
How many left with you? Who was in the party?
My dad, my mom, my 2 older brothers, and myself, my younger brother. That's what I remember.
And when the younger brother, was he the last one born in Tibet?
No.
There were even younger ones?
That's the
Where
one.
were they?
Well, maybe they are with us because they are so small, probably carrying us, but I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
Right.
Yeah.
So as far as my brother, I got 2 brothers, I remember, 3 brothers, and myself, 4 remember.
You remember 4 going
4,
with you?
yes.
4 brothers. So do you remember did your parents explain why you had to leave? And
Yes, that time then we saying Chinese after us, and in Lhasa that the Chinese invented the Lhasa and
invaded Lhasa?
right, and the Dalai Lama is left, and so it's coming our side pretty soon, so forth. Yeah,
How far away were you from Lhasa?
I'm not sure.
Huh?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
Not sure. But nowadays they're telling us takes in the car a couple of days.
A couple
so,
days
yeah,
at least.
Right.
So it would have taken a good almost half a month probably.
I don't know. You're walking. Yeah. Usually
Yeah.
our transportation out there in Tibet is horses.
Horses, yeah.
Horse is the one fastest we can go. Then you got the yaks and the oxes and things like that transporting the goods, but I'm not sure.
So do you remember having any feelings about having to leave your home? Were you excited or scared or worried?
Scared.
You were scared?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Very scared, especially leaving all the animals behind. All your house, all the lands, everything left behind. The only we have is whatever the most important thing you have in the house you have to bring with us. But we are lucky enough. I think they made a couple trips to Solukhumbu prior to whole family live.
Got it.
So that helped a little bit. Other than that, we left, like, I don't know, probably 800-900 sheep, maybe. Zola khasi.
Zosna dirwa yaki morwa.
Yaki mola dirwa.
Moren zosna kandre.
Zosna
Say that all in English.
It's a mix. It's a ox and yak mix kind of. I don't know. We call it zo, but they have about 6 zos, and we have to take care of them. Some of them left behind. and about, go ahead.
On top of
I-
the sheep.
Yeah, I had to
Yes.
leave behind.
Right.
The sheeps, and we also left behind some
Horses.
which is a mix between yak and ox.
That must have been so sad because
Yeah.
you were, a young herder boy as
Right.
well and a farmer to leave animals that you knew. Do you know what would happen to them?
I'm not sure.
I wonder what would happen if.
I'm sure some of the neighborhood people who stay behind back. Maybe have some of the relatives behind back, but I really don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe my dad and parents make some kind of arrangement.
Yeah, for them to care for it.
kept them and things like that. I'm sure they did something because others we can hear later on.
Yeah.
So
It's interesting, and maybe you couldn't know this as a young child, but it's interesting. Like, I wonder why some families, and you had a large family. You've got all
Right.
these boys and babies too. Why some would choose to leave, and why some would choose to stay.
well, in our family we all left. I
I
know,
know
that.
that.
Right. But some they left. But I'm talking about like close relatives. They maybe stay behind.
Why?
I don't know.
You
Their
don't know.
choice.
Their choice.
Yeah.
I see. Do you remember how your parents felt about leaving their home and their animals? Was it? You can't.
I don't know.
Because you were about 12 then,
So,
actually.
But this is kind of unfortunate.
11.
Unfortunate that they did not share us.
They don't share with
Right.
you.
It's a kind of, I think, again, it's a cultural thing. All the family thing. Communication is not the best, I say, My father and mom say, we're leaving because this. If you tell that, then maybe we have some captured our memory, but nothing. Even we have to ask after, many years, we have to ask few questions.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
the parent doesn't tell us this and that. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
They didn't give a lot of explanations.
Right.
Or maybe share a lot of feelings.
Right. Didn't.
That doesn't happen in Tibet,
Right. No.
Tibetan culture.
I guess not. I don't know. I don't know. It is for everybody, or it is because just for my family. I don't know.
You don't know.
Right.
What about, when you said, even though they made several trips, you also said, families would take maybe the most precious things. Do you have any idea of what, or do you remember seeing what some of the things they did carry
I think I
out?
do know from our shrine.
What did they bring?
On the shrine, all the statues and all the scriptures and the things like that, they're gone mostly, And in our country, we really, some people may have some antiques and consider like tangas, things like that.
Right.
And other than that, you have your, sambas and cooked barleys and things like that. You got lots of other stuff, but, what you do, you can sell too much in these places. Like a salt, you can bring it from the other part of the place. It brings a whole bunch of salt and store it for, years.
Yeah.
But too heavy to bring it, and you don't need to use it.
And you don't need that much.
Right.
Yeah.
But I do remember all the stuff in our shrine, they're gone, like, like scriptures and things like that, and the tangas and the statues and so forth.
Did you have a shrine room in your home?
Yes,
You did.
yes.
Huh.
I think every Tibetan family has their own shrine, where you do your praying, where you bring all the lamas and the monks and bring, when you bring it, they do everything in the shrine. Basically, it's your own church in our country.
Your own.
You have your own monastery, yeah, but still you have your own house.
Was there a monastery near your home?
But I don't remember that.
You don't remember
Yeah.
that?
But I do remember there is, I'm not very good at explaining. There is a Patamba Sangye. This his place is not very far from Aga. We go there quite a bit for ceremony and offerings and to get blessing from the Tamba Sangye. There's a big, huge statues.
Okay, so that was a temple.
Well, maybe called temple. I don't know.
곰바랑 말와.
Grandpa say I'm married that day. I don't know.
아니, 갈파기 나로래. 지금 라마 도드니 게 요르베.
Lama say Omari. There's no monk or there any, but they're coming and go. But there is a statue more like this, right here. Then get the blessing.
I see.
And there is who
I see.
married. I'm sure there is Lama, but I don't remember.
yang 공예로 이렇게 유나.
Konyeyon.
공예. So
Right.
there was a caretaker,
Yeah, yeah.
and we had a big statue.
Got it. Mm-hmm. Was your family very religious?
Yes.
Really? Why do you
Yes.
say that?
They're offering and they're getting, giving things like that. So.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So what happens next? We kind of left us at a very precarious time where the family is now having to flee Tibet. Can you tell us anything about the journey?
Well, like I said, we left from our country, our place, in the middle of the night, I believe. Like left the fire going in the house, took it. Then we traveled at night. In the daytime, we basically sit in a hiding where the hills are, where the Chinese won't see us. Then we start traveling in the night. Then we just across I think when we were in Mount Everest, there's path going there. That time, it was daytime. And I see a little snow coming down. And Mount Everest, where we cross, that the ice, frozen, and it has a crack on it,
Oh my.
about 3 feet, I believe. How the animal went in there, and that ice was deep, probably as deep as this building. Remember one story?
A crevice.
I don't know. Crevice.
Crevice na tadi pag serka do kini cut. It was a
And
crevice,
there's a
yes.
crack on it, and I see a goat running back because they fell down.
Oh my.
That was sad. I see lots of yaks, sheep died on the road due to the cold weather and so forth. And then there's no very good road because everywhere you go is rocks and rough road. The bottom of the feet is so bad. And then I think that there's no grass at all.
Yeah.
And I do remember that my parents brought 2 loads of hay on the back of their yak so they can feed
They're animals.
animals. And some don't have that luxury, some do.
Right.
So that I remember. I mean, I can even picture right now seeing that crack come down and running that goat back and forth, And
Must have been heartbreaking
oh yeah,
that you couldn't help that little goat.
we can't,
No, so far down.
Yeah, so far down. Then some of them die, some ready to die,
Yeah.
Then you go
How
down.
did you get across that crack?
That I don't remember. I think we people can jump, right? But I don't know what the animal did. Maybe they're somewhere else. Maybe not 4 feet. I don't know. I mean, I see it right there, nice and shiny down below.
To a child, that was a big
Yes.
jump.
Yeah, it
It
is.
was a big jump.
Yeah.
So about how many people were in your party? Your mother, father, and a couple brothers?
Right.
And no relatives, no.
That I don't remember.
You don't remember that
But
part.
there's
Okay.
other people coming too.
Oh, you were with a larger group.
Larger group. We don't know.
Ah,
I mean, not we ourselves alone. They're coming one after another. There is tons of people coming.
really? Like a caravan almost.
Yeah, I mean that this is the time and time is correct or whatever it is. Maybe my dad and the parents had some kind of communication with our neighbors. I don't know that part. So
Yeah. So a large group. How many days did you walk, or do you have any recollection how long it took to get from home?
I think it took 3 days to get from our places to Mountain Everest base. Then I think it takes about, I'm lying or I'm guessing here. Mount Everest going to start with the snow and go end,
Yeah.
maybe day.
What-
Then
what-
after that, you see rocks, and Bambi Road, that's about it. And then you go, then you are into Solukhumbu. Then where the mountain base to the Solukhumbu, then maybe a couple of days walk. Then after that, your fare is gone because Chinese is not there, and you don't worry about it. Then you put your tent on, then relax or whatever they're doing, eating, feeding the animals, so forth.
Could we just spell that place that you went to,
Solukhumbu, I can spell that.
Yeah, that's
Solukhumbu.
B-U.
Khumbu.
Oh,
Okay,
Khumbu.
Solukhumbu. And that is in India?
No, it's in Nepal.
It's in Nepal.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I meant to say Nepal. It's right on the edge.
Right by the Mount Everest.
Right by Mount Everest. When you keep saying, we passed the base of Mount Everest, is that the same location that we now call the base camp?
No,
No,
that's
because the
different.
base camp is much higher.
Higher. I mean,
Much higher.
what? Mount Everest is 29,009 or something like that.
Yeah, yes,
But
it
we're
is.
not close. I think there is. Mount Everest sit like this. Maybe right here, the base, there is a place to go. I wish I have a picture of it.
It's like a
but
pass.
That is a pass.
It's a pass at the base of Mount Everest,
Yeah.
and it takes you
Looking
right
for it.
into
Yeah,
Nepal.
right.
Okay.
Well, we can bring yaks, we can bring sheep, and we bring our animals. Some reason they don't bring horses. They bring the horses up to the base of Mount Everest on Tibet side. After that, horse go back to where we're going. Then I don't know what is reason. And then other than you can bring it, but it's very difficult. It's very hard for the animals to walk through. Plus, they have to carry the load on the
Yes.
back.
Very rocky.
I mean, it's a very, very difficult. Yeah,
So what is your next memory of this journey?
that's part of the memory part.
And then you're more relaxed, the Chinese. Are there any Nepali government officials there to stop you or greet you or
I don't remember
nothing?
nothing. I don't remember.
Okay.
No. At that time, if I remember right, and I don't think Nepali or Sherpas are not really doing anything. And Nepali government has been pretty good for a long time until Chinese come in and pressure Nepali government. Other than that, I think I don't remember.
What is your next memory after that journey?
Not really much of
What happens then? Do you go to?
then after I got up to Solukhumbu,
Yes.
we were there, and I think we ran the place, and everything was settled, settled, and then it's like it's like 1960.
Yep.
During 60, then I think the government sent some few of teachers to Solukhumbu. So they start teaching us some, alphabeticals like ABC and also Tibetan things. I remember that going to school there for, I don't know, a year or so. And it's about maybe a couple hours a day.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. That was very wise of the Tibetan government
Yeah.
to right away start educating
Yeah.
you, because
I don't remember exactly what date and year was, but
Yeah.
I'm just guessing.
yeah. Was that your first time in school?
Yep.
How was that?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I don't remember.
Uh-huh.
And went in, I remember they're teaching us our Tibetan national anthem, start with, and then teaching us how exercising. And they then start teaching us, like I said, alphabeticals. And it was on a tent, little tent.
In a tent.
The tent, yes.
The school
It
was
was, school was tent.
a tent school. That sounds like fun.
You get your own house, and then all the kids bring into that tent, they start teaching it. Then I was there maybe 6-7 months. I remember that.
Really?
Then my parents transferred 3 of us down in close to Khumbu, but then another camp by right now they're called the kind of settlement.
Yes.
And they're old. Then they start building. I think they get some funds from Swiss.
Yes.
I don't remember this. They start giving some land, buying land, and then build some houses. Then build some schools. Then I went to school there for full time, about a year.
In that next place?
Next place, yes.
Were there
Called Solukhumbu.
what was it called?
Solukhumbu.
Solukhumbu.
Solukhumbu là bốc số đây rồi.
Kumbu.
Khumbu. Solukhumbu rồi. Nào chứ sao thế? Chỉ Solukhumbu này rồi.
Really. Solukhumbu. Share kumbu is double double madwe.
Solukhumbu đâu đây đây là ya. Tập cũng đi đâu chứ rồi.
It was called Solukhumbu. It wasn't very far. It's pretty
Oh, you have
close
to walk
to the
quite a bit.
previous
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
Then we went to school there about a year.
And then what happens?
Then we went to school. Then my parents transport us to Dharamsala.
Right from there.
Right from there.
How did you get to Dharamsala from there?
Well, I mean, we have to walk for a while. Then you go get into Nepal.
Yeah.
Get into Nepal to India, we go by the train. And then I went in Dharamsala went in the school. All I remember is going there, and my dad told me he's going to go to school, and he left there. He left. He's gone back to Solukhumbu. Yeah.
He left you at school.
Right.
Were you with any other brothers?
Yep.
Your other brothers?
2 of us. One who is in Japan, and I myself. And the older brother went to army. The oldest one stayed with my parents. So.
Okay, that's interesting. So
Yep.
the oldest stayed with their parents. Another older went into the army.
Army, yep.
And then you
And
and
my younger brother,
brother.
who was in Japan right now.
stayed at the school. How did it feel to have your father go off and back with mother
Well, I'm kind of used to
at
it.
that point?
Yeah, because
You're about 13 now.
right, probably somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And really, it's kind of sad to see. But when I was in Tibet, even, I don't see my dad too often.
Yeah.
Because he gone his way, and I have to go on. And like I say, we have 3 different places,
Right.
and we live
Right.
here. We see, here and there, up and on, gone kind of thing.
I see. So it's not such a difficult
No.
separation. You're
Right.
something used to it a little bit.
Kind of used to it, yeah. For me, anyway, yeah.
So there you went to school in
Yep.
Dharamsala.
Yep.
What's the name of the school?
Well, I think it was below TVC, right?
TCV.
TCB down below.
Tibetan Children
Children's Village.
Village.
Yeah,
Tibetan Children's
yeah.
Village.
That was back in 1963.
What was it like? Tell us.
Well, there's a lot of kids,
Yeah.
and they play, basically, only you think about play and the things, I really don't know. Then they transport me to Mussoorie.
At what age?
Well, that's about somewhere, still I'm 13, I think, somewhere there.
Really? Why Mussoorie?
Well, I don't know, there is a called Tibetan Homes Foundation in Mussoorie, and a whole bunch of us transport. During that time, I think what they did, this is my own thinking, that His Holiness and exile government collects all the children, come to Dharamsala and collects in there. Then they transport to different part of the country, like Simla, Dalhousie,
Yes.
Mussoorie, so forth, Panchimari, all that stuff. So some people go to Panchimari, some go to Dalhousie, all over there. I was Mussoorie, and my brother and I were Mussoorie, and he left a couple days earlier. That was scarce for most, him and I was kind of separate.
I know.
Yeah.
And that was most concern, and for him too. So I remember see the who tried to organize it. I tried to tell him, request him to send both the same place where he was sending. And he told me, I'm going to go same place the next day. And he's going. I asked him for sure. He said, no problem. So which he did.
That was a relief.
Yes.
That was a relief. So what were the conditions like in Mussoorie? This is like probably 1963.
63. I don't remember what month and all that. It was nice.
Was it nice?
Yeah, it's lots of nice. Mussoorie was that very nice place. And he was in Tibetan refugee school. My brother was. I was on the Tibetan Homes Foundation. Two different places.
already homes the inji chindaji shimba de gya shung. So the school that my brother was in, it was it was run by the Indian government. So it was part of that. And then the school that I was in was the Tibetan Homes Foundation, which was funded by another organization.
Right.
Was that Swiss?
I think all over the place. You get funds all over the mostly Swiss, maybe
From
from
all
America
over.
and all that, you know.
Interesting.
So I was in the Tibetan Homes Foundation. I was there from 63 to 69. So what, 7 years? Yeah.
And what did you do during those 7 years?
Well, I study English, Tibetan, mathematics. We have all these subjects anyway, Hindi. So I was there up to 10th grade. Yeah.
What were the what was it like to be in a country, because you're in India now, and the climate is extremely different than
We didn't feel it.
you didn't feel
We
it.
didn't feel it. I don't know, we are too young, not paying attention. I don't know. I don't remember anything
Didn't
that
bother you.
doesn't bother me.
Isn't that amazing?
Only I know it was school and when I was in Mussoorie, then we are in a comfort zone, kind of, you know, comfort zone. You know, you are happy and then you start thinking about your mom and dad, and, you know, I wish they were here and things like that, you know.
Yeah. After you got settled.
After you settle, that's
You
correct.
got settled down. And so can you tell us about the classes? Were they large, small? Where were the teachers from? You know.
What we as the Tibetan Homes Foundation do not have specific classes, but we have to attend our classes into the Tibetan school, which is run by Indian government. So Tibetan Homes Foundation is up, when I was there, about up to 25. Each home has 25 kids.
Okay.
And then you have your foster parents,
Yes.
and foster parents oversees 25 kids, and they feed you whatever you need to do. Then older kids within the 25, you have to have a duty to cooking and the dish doing and so forth. I was one of the oldest one in that homes, and I had to do a lot of hard work that time, doing dishes. Then you have to go get the food from from the where we bought it, like rice and vegetables, and there was, there's one station out there, place go get it. Then you have to carry that in your bag to all the way to where you live. And then you go school, Then we go classes, go to where the Tibetan school is, then takes about, I think, maybe 10, 12 minutes to walking. And go there, and in the class, I really don't know exactly how many kids. Probably say about 30 to 40 kids in each classes. And the teachers are kind of mixed. Some Tibetan teachers, and the English teacher and Indian language and English language is taught by the Indians.
Did anybody, like of the kids that were coming, had they all come? Because you were there for quite a few years.
Yeah,
And so, I guess what I'm wondering is, the children who didn't quite get out in 15, well, even if they left in 59, some of them had rougher experiences than your family, perhaps.
perhaps.
Did any children talk about that, or was that not,
Never
heard about it?
Only what we'll talk about is where's your parents, where they live. That's about it.
That
I
was
mean,
it.
we really do not, we all know we are refugee.
Right.
We all know we have a difficulty. We all know we are leaving this home until the foster parents care. And head of the whole thing visits once in a while and they telling us information here and there, you know, how you take care of yourself, you know, doing, you know, way, you know, teach us way how you live, how you everyday basis, you know, how to brush teeth, how you wear clothes, things like that, you know, basically.
They were educating you
That
how-
is exactly
how to
right.
survive and
Right.
be
Yep.
in the world. Well, this was a big contrast from living on a farm in Tibet.
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, it is. I mean,
What were the hard parts and what were the good parts? What do you think?
hard part is that obviously lose our own country.
Yes.
And then you do not see your parents for a long time. I didn't see my mother for 12 years.
Really?
Yes.
How did that happen that you
Well,
saw?
see, what happened is that when I left from Solukhumbu to another places, it's 60. Then I left to Mussoorie. They tried to come to see the kids in India through Nepal, and Nepali government don't let them go to cross India. They stopped, so they went go back. Then 1969, I left India to United States. So I didn't go back to United States till 1974, I think. So I didn't see my mother. That's the hardest part of it. I missed my mom a lot, every day, you know. Other than that, I mean,
The hardest part during school?
during school,
the
yes,
school
yes,
years,
you know, you
missed
still
your
miss,
mom.
yes.
What did you miss?
Mom,
Just having her there?
it'd be nice to see her, you know, meet her, you know. I really necessarily looking for some food or special anything. Just see her was that, you know, without seeing her was most challenge.
So
That's the worst part of it. Best part for me was, you know, if I live in Tibet, I probably don't have an opportunity to go to school. Probably I end up going to after yaks and ships and you know, stay down basically. So when you into school and at least you know how to read a little bit Tibetans, a little bit English, a little bit Indian language, and a little bit mathematics. You have a little bit. You are absorbed a little bit education.
yes, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So how did that happen then? How did you wind up leaving to go to the United States? Like, had you finished
I finished up to 10th grade.
up to
10th grade.
10th grade?
Yeah.
And then?
Well, what happened was in the Tibetan Homes Foundation, that where I used to live, and the dad telling me I'm kind of overaged. When you're overaged, then I guess you shall live certain ages until on their homes, and I guess they have some kind of rule regulation from the whoever funding it, but that I'm not sure. So they told me I can overage, so I decided to go to get some different education.
Because you were 21 at that
somewhat,
time.
right,
That's
right.
right. And they said, okay, we have to have a cutoff because
Right.
children,
Right.
new children need to be
Exactly.
educated.
Right. So
And-
educated. So I decided to go to another place called Town in India, where in Mussoorie. I went there for 1 year for try to run the typing, and I wanted to be a somewhat secretary.
Kalimpong?
Clementown.
Town.
Okay. Oh, Clement.
Rajpur Damle.
Right, Rajpur.
It's in Rajasthan?
Rajpur.
In Rajpur.
Rajpur,
Yeah.
near
And there was-
Rajpur, yeah.
Ah, okay. And it's called
There is a big
Clement
Tibetan
Clementown.
settlement.
Town.
It's, I think, some remnants. of-
Clement town,
Town.
Town.
Yep.
It wasn't a Tibet word. It was
No, it's
Clementown.
Town.
I got it.
Yeah.
So at 21, you went to Town, and you were hoping to learn secretarial typing.
Yeah, I learned how to type and try to. Then after 1 year, you get a little certificate. And then during that time, and I was searching for jobs, and I'm hoping that I may get some kind of job, whatever it might be, in the Tibetan Homes Foundation where I live. So then I went, after I finished it, I didn't got the job right away and looking at, and then I guess during that time that the exile government ready to send 21 Tibetans to United States as a lumberjack.
Oh, I heard about this.
Yes. And my foster parent kind of told me about this. If you don't get Jack and if you go United States, they are taking the list who is the candidate for it. So, and then I finished I think it was 68. 68, I finished the typing and tried to find a job. And then during that time, and I put the application, send application to Home Affairs of our exile government in Dharamsala. They took my application.
From a typist to a lumberjack.
Lumberjack.
What a story.
Yeah.
From a yak herder to a typist to a lumberjack. You could write a book.
Yeah.
What happened next? So you did get you got
Right.
it?
Then I got it. Then it took for a while. I don't know exactly, but maybe it took 8 or 10 months to come over. And it took, you have to check your health checkup. You did all kinds of stuff. So then during that time, I stayed the same place I was most time. I helped my foster parents lots of stuff going in. He was in charge of the whole store at the Tibetan Homes Foundation. He did a lot of sorting and go get the donation from the different places. Like that sends you a whole bunch of old clothes. I mean, tons of old clothes. You package in a big box of sack, and then you go in your store. You have to go ahead and separate them.
Organize.
Small to small, color to color, kids to kids, women to women, men to men. I spent helping him there, and then come to the United States in 1969.
Excuse me, but you keep mentioning my foster parent. Who was that? Was he a real foster parent or just someone who took care of you?
No, people who took care of that 25 people.
Ah, that foster parent.
Right, that's I call
in
foster.
charge of that
Right.
home.
Right.
Yes.
I get it.
So we call it Patsup Matsup,
Yeah.
basically, and we are foster parents.
Lovely.
Right, we called father and mother in English, and in Tibetan called Bala Amala, but it's not really a real Bala Amala, real mother and father, but kind of step, not really a step, but
I
in
know.
charge of the home. So.
Yeah. They took care of you. How wonderful. So you helped your foster parent.
Right. Then he, during that time, he kind of informed me that they're taking application. So I put the application, and they send me, you're accepted.
And where'd you go?
Then here we go. Then we went. Then send me letter saying we need to go in Delhi, New Delhi, to go check up our health. So we checked the health and everything else, and everything went okay.
And then what happened?
Then we flew from New Delhi to Maine, New England. Basically, I think we were landed in Boston, I think. Then Boston to New England, I call it Portage in Maine, and we were taken by bus. And then sponsored by the called Great Northern Paper Company. And the 1967, they took 6 Tibetans as a lumberjack. They were happy about that. And then 21 of us come together. And we settled there. And all my airfare, all my passport, all the expenses was paid by the Great Northern Paper Company.
Great Northern Paper Company.
Yes. And we have to pay back to them, like every time we get paid,
They
take
took the money back for the air.
Right. They did everything, passports and air tickets and all the expenses, travel expenses, all paid advanced, basically.
Did you get much money left for salary after they took that out? A little at a time.
A little at a time, I don't know how they did,
Okay.
but we get paid basically like, I don't know, $2 an hour, maybe $1.75, somewhere in there. And the more you produce, you get a little bit more.
What did you do? What kind of work?
Well, we were there and we go wood, and they divide 3 of us each. Two guys follow the tree. And we are 21 of us together, but we are living in one section in one place, in a trailer. They put a group as a group. We work together. But when you go in the wood, and the 3 people in a team, and I have 2 guys, and 2 of them cut the tree and limb it. I drove. They're called skidder. It's a big machine, and they hook the trees on the back of the big, huge cable, and hook it up, bring on the road, and cut lumber like that. I don't know. Our term was 5 years.
Wow.
And something happened on that business. Didn't go well, and they told us, if you want to leave, you can leave. So we
Excuse me, but can you say, what was that work like for you?
It's hard.
It had to be very hard.
It is hard.
Tell me about it. What made it hard?
Well, number one, you have no clue of machine.
Yeah.
You don't know how to run the chainsaw. You don't know how to drive. You have no clue. That's one.
No training.
Minimal. Forget the training part. You don't have the clue of how they run. They give us training for, I think, 6 months or so. But after you run, I was pretty young. We pick up pretty fast. Pretty good. And it is hard, but most difficult is you got snow up to here. And it is 30 below zero.
Oh, God. Was it colder than Tibet?
Well, I really don't know.
Okay, when you said, just so people know, when you said snow up to here, you're saying your waist practically.
Oh, yeah, practically. Some place you have to go like this.
Snow up to here is
Yeah.
up to the waist.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Then you have to carry the chainsaw.
Oh, my goodness.
And then you have a tree that you're not supposed to cut the tree. Then you have to clean all the snow out of the way, where the stump is. Then you cut it. But I'm not the cutter, but I'm the machine driver, skidder. but we help each other and do that, and it was challenging.
Really challenging. Was it also, if they were cutting it, trees can sometimes fall.
Oh yeah, you have to know how to do that.
It could be very dangerous.
Oh yeah, exactly. You need to know where they tell you certain size you can cut. You need to know, then you need to know where you're going to, if you're going to, trees sit here, then you need to fall that way, that way, that way, that way. Certain things. So your stump is sit here, then your machine is coming from that end, then you have to pull it.
And your job, you said, was to take the tree that had been felled
Cut.
and attach some chains or something to it?
No, we have to have a cable.
A cable?
About 30, 50 feet long cable. End of the skeeter collar is a huge machine. It's four-wheeler type of.
Skeeter.
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 No, Skiter, skeeter, I think.
Oh, I never
Yeah.
heard of it.
I have a picture. I can show you later.
Okay, we can look at it.
Hopefully, if I get internet.
So you, really, so you had to do that so they could haul it away.
And we pull was not only one tree. That problem there's about 6, 7 trees. But the machine was very powerful, but it's very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
The machine go pull out, and you got trees all the tree, and you have to drive it right. And first you have to make a road. You have
Did you drive the machine?
Yeah, I drove the machine. And if the small tree, machine will basically break it. But the big one, you have to cut it, land it, so forth. But sometimes you have trees coming here, because it sit like that. You drop over, you don't know where they're coming. That's very dangerous.
Yes, exactly. How many years did you do that?
So 69 to 71, or I don't remember. Maybe we did a year and a half, 2 years maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere. Yeah.
Very rugged work.
Yeah.
Do you think they picked Tibetans for this job because they thought you could handle the cold?
I think that time nobody wants to do that job.
Nobody could. They couldn't find anybody to do it.
Except French.
Ah, really?
Hard-working French working.
French Canadian.
French Canadian, exactly.
Yeah, French
I saw a lot of them working. At the same time, I was lucky that that time that machine skeeter come back. Prior to those 6 Tibetans, they have to work with horses. Then horses does not speak Tibetan. Okay? And they have to learn the French, where to go. That's what I understood, but I never had to do that for myself.
So before that machine, they used horses
Horses
to pull those
pull the
trees.
trees.
Oh my goodness! And so you were lucky you came after the
Exactly.
machine. But
I don't know.
the machine spoke Tibetan, I think.
Yeah, the machine speaks it, but exactly. So, for my own thinking right now, I was thinking that for quite a long time. If I have to deal with the horses, it's very challenging for me to ask horses pull that for that trees.
Yeah.
I feel sorry the horses.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't mind riding the horse and go in and do things, but you try to tell the horses pull that lock. I feel sorry for the horses.
Yeah.
So I really don't know how I can handle that, but my friends, those 6 other Tibetans, have to deal with that.
Yeah. I understand how that would have been difficult for you,
Yeah,
who loved animals
yeah,
and didn't like to see
Yeah.
them suffer.
yeah.
That would have been very hard.
It is hard. So that's how. So.
Did you eat? Did they serve you?
Oh man, that food is fabulous. I mean, we have to pay our own pocket, but it's kind of buffet.
Yeah.
That food is you don't have to cook. You came in the woods, and the huge building. You have your own room to sleep, called like a trailer, mobile home, and then you have their cafeteria type, the kitchens and everything, big building like this, and their cafe. You can eat as much as you want, and I mean, you got meats from pork to beef to chicken, and you can salad, whatever your food is wonderful. I don't know how much it costs, but it's as we go, we have to they pull out right from our paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Well, you were burning a lot of calories.
Oh yeah.
To stay warm and to do that work.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then you have, in the wintertime, you have the challenge with the cold weather.
Yes.
Summertime, you have the challenge with the heat and mosquitoes.
I knew you were going to say that.
Man.
Unbelievable.
The mosquitoes are terrible. See, we are not believing killing things. And I tell you, man, it was huge.
Could you put any spray on?
We do.
Yeah.
But still, the one guy, my buddy, so that spray can handle it, he basically put the, now we call it chainsaw oil all over his face like this. After you look at it, all the mosquitoes stuck in the oil. I mean, so all over the place.
Was that Tibetan oil of some kind?
No, it's a chainsaw oil. You put the
Chainsaw oil on his face to keep the mosquitoes off, and they all stuck to it.
They stuck to.
Oh, what a story! That must have. And all the men you were working with were Tibetans.
Yep.
They were all Tibetans.
Yeah, so we have, like I said, we get 6 of them came in 1967.
Yeah.
Then 21 of us came in 1969.
And 21 more.
So we got all together was 27.
Did you fellows know each other?
Well,
Or did you come from the same village or towns or anything?
no, I only have a cousin, my distant cousin. He was came in 67, and he's my actual distant uncle, and I only know him. Then I don't know. You interviewed Zundukunga, that guy who opened here.
Yes.
I know him from Mussoorie.
Yes, he was from Mussoorie. Too.
He was like he does some kind of foster parents and all that. I know him there. And I knew few people right from Mussoorie. Other than that, I don't know. Everything came to New Delhi.
Yes.
After there on, we knew each other. But prior to that, few of us know each other.
And it's so spread apart.
Yep.
Your villages and towns.
Right.
So were you sorry that you took the job, or
No, I
Was it-
feel very lucky.
you did?
I feel lucky, I guess no pain, no gain,
That's not a Tibetan phrase,
And that's
but I
not
like.
well, I think that's what that different prayers, but similar to we have it,
What's the Tibetan version of that?
Well, how you say this Tibetan version? It's actually saying, no, I don't remember exactly
That's
now.
okay.
I better not say.
But speaking of that,
Yeah.
you were a long way from home. A long way from your mother, whom you loved, and your own animals. And were there any teachings or Tibetan beliefs that you found comforting to yourself as you went through these enormous changes?
Well, you need to look at 2 separate things.
Please.
Okay, at that moment, you have to live on country and live away from your parents and all that. It's very sad. Especially you left your country and so forth. It's a very sad part of it. And the positive side of it is, I think, kindness of His Holiness Dalai Lama, the hard work, and the community in the world sees and saying we got a lot of help. I think that's positive side. For my feeling is, if I live in Tibet, I don't see United States. I don't hear any part of this world, unless it's a change in Tibet. And then also I got little education,
Yes.
that positive side.
Yes. Yeah.
If I live in Tibet, like I think I told you earlier, I may not know anything. Only I know is go after the animal.
I understand.
So there's two look at.
Yeah. A loss and a gain.
Then, yes. Now, having said that, some people may not like to say that is don't like it what I said because that's how I feel. And if Dalai Lama is not there, then I think it's a whole different story.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Why
know.
why do you value the Dalai Lama so much?
First of all, he is our leader. He is our God. He's our teacher.
What do you think are some of his most important teachings for the average person? What is it that we need?
Compassion,
Compassion?
love. Think about others more important than yourself. It is in the Buddhist text, but Buddhist text does not teach you unless you grab, read it, understand it. But Dalai Lama goes out there, does it, shows it, but then he practices it. And in this world, what I see is there's many good leaders, but some of them hypocrite. Dalai Lama does what he says and stick with it. And especially he worked so hard on behalf of the Tibetans.
I know. What do you think that the Tibetan wisdom, how do you think the wisdom of the Tibetan people that they have gained through the teachings of the Buddha, what do you think are ways that it can help the world, help other countries of the world or people in the world? 'Cause
As a Tibetan as a whole,
yeah,
that's a broad question. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, you named compassion was an important part of it.
Well, I cannot speak other people, but I work here in the United States. I worked in a company for 30 years. And every time some people try to tell you something, I try to be tolerant as much as I can. And also, if somebody is doing bad thing, I try to stop and make him understanding it, how it is, Somebody try to lie to you, try to cheat to you, try to stop those things. And I'm sure there's out there people are better than me. I'm sure there's people out there worse than me, I really don't know. But I think Tibetan people work with the other Westerners. Many of them like what we do.
What the Tibetans do.
Yeah.
They like the Tibetan
Attitude, how we bring forward to it.
the kindness and compassion.
And also, you go walk out there, think that you get paid so much, and you try to give them a little extra. Not living on that level. And for myself, I told my boss I said, if you pay me $1, I try to give you $1 and a penny worth of work. That kind of attitude you have.
Yeah.
And not wasting your time, not wasting your equipment, so on. Some people think that's not I don't care, attitude that. I don't think, every Tibetan try to do that. I think.
Yes.
Some of them, there's none.
But you're saying a kind of a spirit of generosity.
Yeah.
And
appreciating
kindness
what
and
you have.
I see.
And wasting is a bad thing. If you go in a restaurant, for example, you order a food, and guess what? Half of those in the garbage. Why would you do that? You got your own, in country they have so many people dying and homeless. Don't order it. Why
Yeah.
would you do that?
Right.
So that similarity kind of thing.
These
so,
are things.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like something big happened after you left the forest where you were a lumberjack. What happened next?
See, what happened? Then what happened is that we were there for, I don't know, a year and a half, exactly remember. And one of the Americans, he lives here in the town right now. His name is Dan Messerschmidt. And he was an anthropologist. And he was anthropologist. He was in school. He was working on basically Nepalese. And I guess back that time, there is no Nepalese around here in the United States. Back in 60s, late, 60s, early 70s. So I guess he looked at it. There's some few Tibetans here in America. It's a group of Tibetans, not only Tibetans, 2 here, 1 here, 3 here, but we all together. So I guess he contact with the Office of Tibet and to get the permission, and he wants to join and spend the time with us for a while, which he did.
Could you say his name again? So
Don Messerschmidt.
Don Mesher, M-E-C-H-E-R?
No, it's long. Messerschmidt.
Okay.
I can pull out later.
Messerschmidt, I got it.
Okay.
M-E-S-S-E-R-M-I-D-T-H.
I think that sound right?
Could be. Messerschmidt,
this?
maybe?
Yeah, Schmidt, yeah.
Maybe there's a Schmidt in
Yeah,
there.
I can
think
pull
it's
out
this.
up to the name. I think putting the name correct is right if you want put it on the bigger.
So what
And
did he do?
He spent time in there with us whole summer
In Maine?
in the Maine.
Uh-huh.
And we walked. He took a whole bunch of pictures, and some people call him spy. But because he's he kept asking all kind of questions, and that really don't know. I didn't pay too much attention. I'm young, and his wife calls me Pisky.
Pisket.
Fisky.
Pisky.
I don't know what that really actually means. And he spent there, and we knew that. And then they told us all kinds of stories. We really don't know America that well. We're stuck in the Maine, and especially you're stuck in the wood where you know. And he told us, and I guess the Dan's wife's name is Crean, and last name is a Bishoprick.
Okay.
And Crean's father has his own business here in the Warrington, in Australia, Warrington.
Astoria.
Australia. And they came back here. 2 of them came up there, and they went to work for him. So, and we can go leave Great Northern Paper Company anytime we want to because they asked us to go. So we called Green and Dan, can we job get here? Well, they said, well, I'm sure you guys can get a job here and come over. So my cousin, Wangjuk Doche, and his wife, and I came from Maine to over here by driving, have fun, and just came and see the country, and it took us about 2 weeks from New England to get here.
To come to Portland,
Portland,
Oregon, from Maine. 2 weeks
Yeah.
driving. Who was driving?
Well, me and 3 of us all drove, but I think I drove the most.
That's quite a drive.
Yeah, this is fun. I drove, and I was young, and I got the license fairly, early because
You have a big machine to
I
operate.
really did that. But the driving car and machine is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But you drive the car in the highway,
Yeah.
a little bit different. So we drove. We came. So actually, we landed in Vancouver, Washington, not in Oregon actually. Vancouver, Washington, and then we spent a couple of nights in Korean's parents' house. Then they try to help the job, and Wangchu, my cousin, he has kind of lined up his job because he wants to go to school and become a mechanic. And his wife was nurse, and she already find a job right away. So, and I didn't get to find a job right away. So that the Don and Korean helped me find a job in around here in the Clark County, and then find a job. And finally, we found a job for me in Woodland. Woodland. It's about 20 miles from here. I worked in a mobile home. Built a mobile home for, I don't know, a couple of years, maybe a year and a half, something like that.
To actually build it?
I didn't build it. I was material handler.
Yeah, material handler.
Yeah. Drops register called a forklift. And they're bringing a whole bunch of, like you got screws and nails and anything you bring in from the truck, they're unloaded in the pallet. Then you distribute and organize on the shelf in the building. You know, I worked there for a while. Then Don helped me find a job in the paper mill called the Coronzella. I don't know if you heard that, maybe you didn't. It's a paper company in the chemist.
You want to say it one more time?
Coronzella.
Oh, Coronzellerbach.
Zellerbach.
Okay.
It's a German company, and it's a paper mill. It's a huge paper mill.
Okay.
I worked there for 9 years. Yes. And I worked 9 years. I did all kinds. I make the paper bags. I make toilet tissues. I made the napkins. I made all kinds of stuff there. Work in the paper mill itself, make the papers. It did so many different things. And I worked there different shifts. And 9 years. Then I think 1974, I went back to Nepal. See my folks.
What was that like?
Man, I'm glad to see my mother.
I bet.
Yep. And
What did she look like after all those years, and how did you feel when you saw her?
well, I didn't think nothing about it. But I always know is she is alive. Only bad thing was her eyes was not very good. Because she have a cataract.
Cataracts.
Yeah, cataract. And other than that, you know, I'm happy to see her, and she was very happy to see me, and spent down there. And then I met my wife at that time.
While you were there?
Yeah, it's kind of arranged type. And my parents and my wife's parents talked, and we had a discussion, and we married that year, 1974. And I spent in Solukhumbu, called Namjabada, which is right in Mount Everest, where so that country was loved it. I loved it.
Beautiful.
At that time, that country is not polluted, very less people. And you know, 1974 was a very,
You
very.
were around 26 years old.
I think 28.
28?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, my age is a little, I don't know how we
Yeah,
calculate
okay.
it.
So
Anyway,
around 28.
Yeah, 28. Yeah. Made it at the 28. Stayed there, come back, worked in the paper mill, and my wife could not join with me because of I wasn't the American citizen at that time.
I see.
And worked. And 2 years later, year and a half later, my wife joined with me. And we raised 3 kids together. In 1980, I had a job offered by that Green's brother runs a pressure treating lumber in Washugo. He offered me a job. And the first couple times I didn't go because his company was fairly new. And mainly he didn't establish any kind of insurance for the employees. So I was kind of afraid that I have 3 kids and didn't go there. And the last one, he offered a job in 1981. I went back to work for him.
What city?
Washugo, Washington. Yeah. There I worked for him almost 33 years.
Really?
Yes.
What was your main task?
Well, I was began with a supervisor.
Really?
Then I took after that, 20 years later, I took as a manager, production manager.
But that's in Washington, and now you live here in Portland.
No,
Oh, you don't?
no, I live in Washington.
You still live in Washington?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. I see. How far away is your house from here?
About 20-minute drive.
Oh, I
Yeah.
forget how
Yeah.
how close it
It's
is
just across the
to
river.
Washington.
Well, this is
Yeah.
we as a Tibetan community, we go back a little bit when we start coming back here in this part of the country.
Yeah.
And lots of us came here as well. And remember the Zundukunga guy who came, and when I came myself, I was by myself. So I started calling my old Tibetan lumberjacks, hey, we got a job here, you want to come? So I helped them, about 6-7 people to get a job here together. So we work together, and here in the Northwest, we are getting a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So we established ourselves a Tibetan community called the Oregon and Southwest Washington Tibetan Community.
Yeah.
And we create that, and we celebrate. We get together during the New Year. We get together during the His Holiness' birthday, and we do things. We discuss how we can do better, and how we can do better what His Holiness wants us to do, and collect what we call called Gandun Mangu. There's a little collection every year. All that stuff established it. Back in middle of the 80s, then this resettlement came in. The Tibetan Congress approved 1,000 people. So we here in United States, there's a group of Tibetan like us. Like here, we got a little bit. You got in California, you got in Minnesota, all over the country there. They try to bring like 1,000 people, and I think our community here did I think we're the most one, 40 people, I think.
Really? 40 from that resettlement?
Yeah. So my wife was very active because she was working with my kids, and she really do not have a full job, and she does a part-time job, and she and my cousin Wangchuk, they worked very hard to get established.
I see. Wonderful.
During that time, and then form a kind of committee, and a lot of people helped, and then try to find sponsors for those people, and get bigger and bigger.
Get bigger and bigger.
So after we merged and get rid of the Tibetan settlement and get rid of the Tibetan Oregon and Southwest Tibetan community, so we create this Tibetan community here. And I ran as in charge of precinct, and we established our Tibetan locals, established the Tibetan name like Northwest Tibetan Cultural Associations. It kind of said, and all kind of foundations set it up. And that worked good. And then a couple years later, more people interested and worked harder and harder and get bigger and bigger. And what was year? I don't forget. Jeez. His Holiness came in here. Boy, what is it, 2002? Maybe. I don't remember exactly. And His Holiness came in, and that one family gave us $1 million and 9 acres of land.
The Lemelson family.
Yeah, Lemelson.
Oh.
For us here in
For the community.
The Melson
The
family?
Lemelson.
Lemison.
Yeah.
Do they live around here? This
No,
family?
they live here somewhere in some, not in Portland. They live somewhere else.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
It's Lemelson.
Yeah, Lemelson family.
And they gave $1 million
And 9 acres of
and
land.
9 acres of land.
Yeah.
Is that what we're on right now?
Nope.
No, that's somewhere else.
Right. So what happened was we have a little bit controversy, and we have a little bit mixed feelings within our Tibetan community. We are kind of a little bit, everybody has their own opinions, do things. So I took the responsibility of as a president in our board. I ran this community for about 6 years. It was very challenging. And so the 9 acre was pretty very good neighborhood, and they don't want any kind of association or anything with us. That one issue. One issue is that when we build our center up there, it's really, really hard for us to raise that much money. Making road itself is costing us about $1 million.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it was zigzag, very hill. So then we are very hesitating sell the place because somebody gave it to us and we sell it. We keep saying moral, ethically, I don't know how Lemelson will be happy with it. So we talked and talked. Finally, I thought, well, better go see His Holiness. So I had to put an application to Office of Tibet saying I like to see His Holiness and I like to bring the Lemelsons with me. And it was very hard to get audience, get His Holiness. So I have to talk to Office of Tibet about a couple times. Finally, he permitted. Then I had to talk Lemelson family. I like to come and see His Holiness, and they're not believing the way we believe, and they really don't care. Basically, they give the money, and I told them I have an issue with the land, and I like to get consent from you as a donor, and then I need the blessing from His Holiness. And we went in, met it. So then I explained to His Holiness and the donor challenges we have. So basically, the Dalai Lama told me do the best you can, and the best way to do it, start with the very small, then get bigger, and that's the best way to do it. And then Lemelson's mother said, well, that's the way to do it, then you need to have bigger land to expand it later on. Then I said, I'd like to sell the place, and then like to get somewhere else in central location, flat, cost effective. They understood. And finally, they didn't say anything in front of His Holiness. So I left His Holiness and walked with the Lemelson mother. She grabbed my arm and said, if you need to sell it, go ahead, sell it. If you don't have to, don't sell it. So that kind of left me in the air, and I said, Mr. Lemelson, it's very hard to build the place up. The neighbor issue, no money, and so forth. So I wrote an email to the Muslim parents, and they say, okay, they're authorized sell it. So finally we sold it, and then we got this place.
What
Yeah.
what an ending to
Yeah.
the story
Yeah.
of you being
Well,
a little
I'm not
boy
only-
in Tibet
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
starting a Tibetan
No.
community center.
Well, the reason
the
I bring up because
to-
asking question me and what I do, what I
It's
experience,
important.
I
Well,
kind of, yeah.
it shows how Tibetans, as you said, lost their country,
Right.
but gained many other things.
Right.
And one of the ways together,
Yeah.
with many people's help, you
Yeah.
were able to bring the Tibetan community here, that live here,
Right.
and bring them together. And today you've helped us by telling a story
Yeah.
that we wouldn't want to get lost.
Right.
So people will now know how this center got started. That's very lovely.
Right. I think this is mainly His Holiness Dalai Lama, and then that's the key of it.
Yes.
Then I think we all worked together, and even though we have a disagreement, whatever we might have, but end of the day we end, and then 2 years ago His Holiness came in here, and His Holiness was very happy, and so here we are.
So here we are.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to have to wrap up, but I wondered if we could conclude by just asking you if you could just say a few words about what advice would you give to the children of Tibet who are living here now in this country? Because you've been in this country.
Well, I think the most important part of this country, younger generation,
Yeah.
I think they need to listen His Holiness advice, teaching more precisely. More precisely. I think my perception is younger generation is relaxing, the paying attention to His Holiness teaching.
Okay.
His Holiness is almost 80 years old. If we lose him, then we have nothing left. That's one that everybody need to pay attention. Not his younger generation, but I think every one of us. I could done a lot better, and others could be done better. But I think the younger generation, my age, I think majority done it well, and worked hard, and served for the Tibetan community in exile, many ways.
Yes.
And that was good. I think you need to follow that. Secondly, I think people need to understand and how important to raise old kids. Like Yangchen has 2 kids, she told me. And we need to teach our kids how to discipline, moral, ethics better. And the way the Western raise their kids has one way, a lot of good things. I think we need to copy that from them. And also we as a Tibetan has know how to raise the kids. I think we need to don't want to lose that and put the good side and good side together and they do a lot better than what we are doing right now. I think that's very important. And then I think lastly, I know everybody is working at Tibetan cause. It's very important to do that. And whatever the exile government saying and there were exile government leaders up there, they are not perfect. I think everybody, younger generation, need to say, working to check into those, analyze it, not ignoring it, give some advice, more involvement, communicating. I think very, very essential.
Yes. That sounds like a
So
good.
then lastly, which is His Holiness long life, and hopefully on his lifetime we can go to Tibet and join our Tibetan brothers and sisters. Thank you.
That's a very beautiful, beautiful ending. And thank you for participating in
No
this
problem.
interview. How was it for you to do this interview?
Well, I'm happy, and but I don't know. I went in more detail,
No,
So
no, but do
I
you
don't
think it's important that we collect these interviews?
if you guys doing a great job and you guys listen to His Holiness said, but now you are going to put it out to wherever putting it, the people will pay attention or not. That's the key to it.
That's the
I
key.
think if people put that interest on it, I think it's very good. This guy has this experience. This guy's. I mean, some of them parents are passing their own experience, their own kids.
Yeah.
And the good thing, the thing is, put in here and use it. I think practice it. That's two different issues. I think.
That's right. You got to put it into practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just going to conclude the way I feel it's important to conclude, although I think you're pretty clear about this. So if this interview was shown in Tibet or China, would this be a problem for
No
you?
problem.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing your
No
story
problem.
with
Thank you.
us.
Thank you. Yeah.
With a
Thank you.
great, great honor.
Good, Jenna.